Good Wednesday afternoon to you here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yow, joined as always by Mo Patton in the Lee Company studio. Glad to have you guys with us here as we are getting ready for a wild and wacky day. Of course, it's going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot to talk about. Going to get to it soon. But Mo, what's up, man? How are you?
Not much, man. It's hump day. Guess what day? Yeah. So just getting ready for the rest of the week. Running down to Santa Fe later today to go to a meet and greet with their new girls basketball coach / AD. So should be fun stuff out there. A lot going on though.
It will in fact be a fun time at Santa Fe this evening with John Wild, as we told you yesterday. If you missed that, go back and watch yesterday's show. It is archived all over the interwebs, but also on the Main Street Media TV app on your Roku, Apple, or Fire TV devices. You can also download it on your iPhone or Android phone just by searching Main Street Media TV. Make sure to do that. And if you have the mobile app, just click those Nokia phones at the bottom until you find us. We're at the top of the sports section. There's no way to tell you which way that is. So anyway, man, what a great show we have lined up. Heather Williams, it's Wednesday, so we'll talk NASCAR and definitely not talk Royals baseball. And we'll
we will wait and see if she brings that up. And if she doesn't, then we won't.
Exactly. And Willie DAUNIC in a PREDS post-mortem, talk a little bit about the finish to their season. We talked to him right before that series of games that included Winnipeg and Calgary. And so we'll talk a little bit about that stretch of games, but also what their plans are for the off season, all of that coming up and coming your way here in just a moment. But before we do anything else, I want to get into yesterday's results and into today's schedule. When we do that on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
High school baseball from yesterday afternoon, last night. Cane Ridge defeated Cane Ridge and Antioch played to an 8-8 tie. Okay. Beach defeated McGavock 7-2. It was Middle Tennessee Christian defeating Battleground Academy 11-1. Riverdale with an 8-3 win over Blackman. Christ Presbyterian Academy 14. Brentwood Academy 1. It was Harpeth 7. Cheatham County 3. Clarksville with a 7-3 win over Rossview. Dixon County defeated Clarksville Northwest 14-4. Columbia Central downed Ravenwood 10-8. East Robertson with a 5-2 win over Joe Burns. Montgomery Bell Academy defeated Ensworth 7-2. Fairview blanked Sycamore 7-0. Franklin defeated Overton 11-1. It was Good Pasture 12, Friendship Christian 5. Station Camp with a 3-0 win over Gallatin. Hampshire defeated Santa Fe 15-4. Hendersonville swept Hunters Lane 11-1 and 12-0. Henry County with a 15-0 win over Kenwood. Brentwood downed Hillsborough 15-1. Eagleville defeated Huntland 12-4, and it was Smyrna 11, Laverne 2.
Tullahoma blanked Lawrence County 9-0. Lebanon doing the same to Cookeville 4-0. It was Lincoln County 10, Spring Hill 4. Loretto downs Giles County 2-0. Hume Fogg 17-3 winners over Maplewood. Murfreesboro Central Magnet 12-3 over Martin Luther King. It was Wilson Central with a 4-3 win over Mount Juliet. Summertown doubles up Mount Pleasant 12-6, and Rockville 10 runs Oakland 14-4. It was Page 3 Marshall County 2 and Pearl Calm 13-4 winners over Stratford. Columbia Academy down Providence Christian 16-3. Richland in a shootout here with a 10-9 win over Culleoka. It was Independence 7, Siegel 3. University School Nashville 5-1 winners over
Stop.
Grace. Oh, yep.
Stop. Because our guest later in the show, his son, Mahoney DAUNIC, threw a one-hitter for USN in that victory. So
Yeah, over the number 2 ranked Grace Franklin Lions.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Centennial 6-0 over Watertown. White House Heritage 5-1 over Westmoreland, and East Nashville 21-4 over Whites Creek.
Softball action from Tuesday. It was Beach defeating McGavock 15-0. Smyrna with a 16-1 win over Cane Ridge. Donaldson Christian defeated Clarksville Academy 10-0. It was Columbia Central 7, Ravenwood 0. Greenbrier with a 6-0 win over Creekwood. Good Pasture defeated Davidson Academy 14-11. Eagleville 16, Fayetteville 1, Station Camp 5-3 over Hendersonville. Zion Christian 15-0 over Hickman County, and that involved a perfect game. Hang on just a second.
15-0 would suggest 3 innings, but
no, it was 5. Marley McWilliams, 5 innings, 0 runs, 0 hits, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts for Marley McWilliams in that 15-0 Zion win over Hickman County. Brentwood with a 17-0 win over Overton. Stewart's Creek defeated Laverne 15-3. Lincoln County 15, Spring Hill 0. Columbia Academy with a 10-0 win over Middle Tennessee Christian. Friendship Christian outlasted Nashville Christian 16-11. It was Oakland 9, Blackman 1. Page with a 10-0 win over Marshall County. Richland defeated Culleoka 11-0. It was Siegel 8, Riverdale 2. Rockville with a 6-5 win over Shelbyville. Loretto defeated Summertown 7-5. And Westmoreland with a 4-2 win over Smith County.
on the pitch, Antioch downs John Overton 5-1. BGA a 2-0 winner over Beach. It was Laverne 3, Cookeville 2. Springfield and Gallatin a 0-0 draw. Giles County with a 6-2 win over Marshall County, and Greenbrier skunks Kenwood 9-0. As does White House Heritage over Macon County. Columbia Academy gets a 1-0 win over Middle Tennessee Christian, and Nolensville defeats Columbia Central 3-1. It was Oakland 6, Riverdale 0. Rockville and Siegel a 2-2 draw, while Murfreesboro Central down at Spring Hill 4-1. It was Blackman 3, Stewart's Creek 1, Page and Tullahoma a 1-1 draw. Portland and Watertown, Wisconsin. I'm just gonna. That's probably just Watertown.
I think so.
Portland and 3, Watertown 2, and White House 7-0 over Liberty Creek.
College baseball action from Tuesday night. Sycamores channeling Larry Bird for a 10-2 win over Vanderbilt. Sycamores of Indiana State, sorry. Not to be outdone, Tennessee Tech with a 12-5 win over Tennessee. Southern Illinois 10, Austin P 9. Belmont with a 6-5 win over North Alabama. Lipscomb defeats Middle Tennessee State 11-1. Trevecca with a 17-4 win over Lee. In junior college action, it was Northwest Shoals of Alabama 11, Columbia State 8. College softball, Tennessee defeated Kennesaw State 7-3. And in Major League Baseball action, it was the Rays 10-0 over the Reds, the Diamondbacks 8-7 over the Cardinals, the Brewers with a 6-5 11-inning win over the Mariners, and the Braves with their 8th straight win, defeating host San Diego 8-1.
Today's schedule High school baseball just moments ago. First pitch for Innsworth at Montgomery Bell Academy at 2:30. In just a few minutes, it'll be the Middle Tennessee Monarchs at Goodpasture for a twin bill. Maplewood will be at Antioch at 4. At 4:30, it's Christ Presbyterian welcoming Brentwood Academy. Also at 4:30 is East Nashville at Hillwood and University School Nashville at John Overton. Eagleville will be at Community at 5:30. Also at 5:30, it's Hume Fogg at Watertown. At 6 o'clock, it's Brentwood hosting Stewart's Creek, Lebanon at Cookville, and Kenwood at Davidson Academy. Grace Franklin welcomes Father Ryan. Nashville Christians at home against Harpeth. Blackman goes to Riverdale, and Gallatin's at Station Camp. At 6:30, Independence hosts Siegel. Beach is at McGavock. Columbia Central is at Ravenwood. Rockville hosting Oakland, and Summit at home against Nolensville. And at 7 tonight, big one in Wilson County. Wilson Central, Mount Juliet, 7 o'clock. Be there or be square.
At Wilson Central.
That's correct.
Yeah. Softball today, 4 o'clock start. McGavock at Hunters Lane at 4:30. Davidson Academy is at Clarksville Academy. Also, Portland hosts Gallatin, and Middle Tennessee Christian goes to Webb of Bell Buckle. 5 o'clock starts for Goodpasture at Friendship Christian, White House Heritage at Greenbrier, Nolensville hosting Page, and Springfield hosting Sycamore. At 5:30, Forest is at Summertown. At 6 o'clock, Battleground Academy hosts Ezel Harding. Green Hill goes to Eagleville. Station Camp is at East Robertson, and Murfreesboro Central hosts Blackman. Metro Nashville girls flag football today at Whites Creek, 4 o'clock. The host Cobras and Hillwood, followed by Hillwood and East Nashville, and then Whites Creek and East Nashville at 6. At Antioch at 4, it's Antioch and McGavock. At 5, it's McGavock and Hume Fogg. And at 6, it's Antioch and Hume Fogg. At Hillsboro at 4 o'clock, it's the Lady Burrows and Martin Luther King, followed by Martin Luther King and Maplewood, and finally Hillsboro and Maplewood. At Stratford at 4, it's Stratford and Hunters Lane, followed by Hunters Lane and Glencliff at 5, and Stratford and Glencliff at 6. And at Pearl Cone, it's Pearl Cone and Cane Ridge at 4, Cane Ridge and Overton at 5, and Pearl Cone and Overton at 6.
College softball action this afternoon. Chattanooga is at Austin Peay. That's 4 o'clock on ESPN Plus. At 6 o'clock at Rose Park, you can catch Lipscomb at Belmont. That's on ESPN Plus as well. And at 5 o'clock at Tennessee State, Middle Tennessee State will be at the Lady Tigers on ESPN Plus as well. Major League Baseball this afternoon. Of course, we have some other scores of note, in our area of caring. The Tampa Bay Rays 8, the Reds nothing in the bottom of the 8th currently, and the Cardinals 10-4 leading the Diamondbacks in the bottom of the 6th right now, with a runner on first and one out.
That'll make at least one of our listeners happy.
There you go. And Major League Baseball this afternoon, Brewers are at the Mariners. It's 3:10, and the Braves are at the Padres at the same time. That's on Valley Sports South. And tonight in Jacksonville at 6:05, you can catch the Sounds and the Jumbo Shrimps. Gotta love them down in Jacksonville, baby. And that's going to do it for your rundown. I do have a top story today, but great call here by old Geezer on the comment section, noting that the Titan Stadium passed second reading last night. And that's a pretty big deal because it has one more time and it's good to go. I actually had planned to have a conversation with Jamie Holland today or tomorrow regarding this vote and also the fairgrounds vote, because apparently there's some legal hoopla surrounding the fairgrounds particularly, but also the dome. So wanted to get some clarification from him on some things, and maybe we can have some information there. But it looks like the stadium is going to pass, the new stadium, which is a massive win for the Sports Council, a massive win for John Cooper, who is outgoing as mayor. So I think that's kind of important to note, but huge win for Nashville, I think, in the end. So I guess I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Well, clearly it depends on who you ask. But I mean, I think it is.
I just think there are a lot of people who don't understand the brevity of the undertaking of Nissan Stadium's renovations.
You know, I just hesitate to make it that many people don't understand. Hell, it's making me wonder if there's something I don't understand, really.
Well,
I mean, it's really making me second guess myself that so many people are against it. So many people who I feel like are fairly intelligent individuals.
well,
Maybe they're smarter than I am on this. I don't know.
it's either that or particular Metro Council people who may know better and probably are voting one way just because the vast majority of people who don't know what they're talking about are up in arms over it. You know, this is our tax dollars, blah, 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 and then don't understand. And, you know, sometimes you can get away with voting no on something if you know it's going to pass just to appease voters. That does happen. And
you mean you've got so what you're saying is you've got to do the right thing even if it looks wrong?
or do the wrong thing,
even if it looks right. Yeah,
even if it looks right. I don't know.
I'm a little confused on that.
But I mean, I can see how that would be a possibility. But you know, if you read Facebook and Twitter, it's just a bunch of people who don't know what they're talking about, who are just absolutely mind blown over this whole situation. And I just can't. It's really, and that's why I've tried to stay as far away from, you know, covering the issue as a, you know, as a print journalist, because there's no way that I could be unbiased in my reporting on that, because I just feel like it would my absolute bias would seep through. So I'm just not gonna. That's why I'm going to do it here on the show, where I can tell you it's my opinion. And
it'd be okay.
And it's going to be better for the city. I really think it is. I just, the only negative that I've seen is that stadiums don't make money. Well, we've talked about it on this show a million times and off the air a million times, Mo. They don't make money in a lot of places, but this place it will.
Well, and I don't think it's the stadium individually. I think it's
Correct.
the concept. I think it's, you know, again, we've compared this situation to the Battery outside of Atlanta, and the way it's being developed as a whole. I think that's where the money making aspect of it comes in. The stadium in and of itself may not necessarily make money, but I would be shocked if it doesn't, because of everything that it's going to be able to host in addition to the Titans.
The campus is going to make money, and the campus is what's going to pay the bills. So, and great comment here. You know, Metro schools facilities are crumbling. You're exactly right. And that's why they need a stadium. Because as we've said on this show, the general fund has to pay for the repairs. Visitors' tax dollars and tourism will pay for the new stadium, which frees up money.
The general fund.
From the general fund. So therefore,
now, do you want the general fund going for repairs at Nissan, or do you want the general fund going for
transportation or
schools
or more police and fire and whatever?
And again, another great comment from old geezer. I don't live in Nashville and I love football, and folks from outside of Davidson County can probably be a little bit more loose with Metro Nashville's money than Metro Nashville is. So, I mean,
even though we're going to end up being the ones that pay for it, because we're going to go downtown. We're the football fans. We're going to go to the.
Speak for yourself.
We're going to.
I'm not going down there. But.
Well, I mean, when you go to, when you go to cover games, you're not, you might eat at one of the restaurants, or
right.
something after the game, or when you go to a Sounds game, you may stop in there instead of at 5th and Broadway or whatever. That's the kind of thing that we on the outside of Nashville are going to be the ones who majority pay for this thing.
Right.
So anyway, real quick, top story was Tennessee AD Danny White was joined by SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey during the hearing on the Jeremy Pruitt case.
Sure, that was interesting.
That's got to be the biggest positive that could have happened
For Tennessee?
for Tennessee. Greg Sankey walks in with you. If he's on your side, who can be against you? That's what
Well, I mean, ideally, your commissioner is going to support you. But again, it feels like, and speaking of bias, we may be a bit here, but it feels like Tennessee has done everything that they could do to address this. Now, obviously, they kind of drove this bus from the get, but still, they've done everything, it would seem, to keep themselves out of the NCAA's crosshairs on this situation.
You would think. And obviously the lack of institutional control charge is huge. Basically they said that, and essentially what Tennessee's arguing is that, look, we didn't know. We were completely in the blind. This guy's out here. His wife is a former.
We were completely in the blind.
I mean, his wife's a former compliance officer. We had no idea that she was helping him facilitate these things and all of that. So I mean, and here's the thing: most of this stuff happened during COVID. So how many people were actually on campus when it was happening? And I think
Fair
that's
question.
a big deal. That's important. People weren't there. So it's very possible, a plausible explanation that he was
Went
doing
rogue.
it. Yeah, he was doing it on his own. I don't know, but I feel like if Greg Sankey walks in with you, you're in good shape. Now, Philip Former was also there. Pruitt and his wife testified today. So that's I'm really interested to see what comes out of this, because
I wonder how many coaches' wives have had to testify or make presentations or whatever it would be at these type gatherings. And that's just odd to me that a spouse would be involved in something like this.
Well, and she's not a normal spouse, right? She is a little different in that she's a former compliance officer. So I'm excited to see what comes out. I think it's going to be a positive for Tennessee. I think it's going to be a negative for Jeremy Pruitt, which is, I guess, unfortunate to a degree, but it means he's not going to be a defensive coordinator at Alabama anytime soon. That's a positive. So,
unless you're an Alabama fan,
and I am not. So therefore, good for us.
It's positive. Yeah,
that's right. All right, let's take our first break of the day. Heather Williams is standing by. We'll talk a little NASCAR because it's Dega week. It's exciting. We'll be right back to the Lee Company studio on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Attention Tennessee homeowners, we want to buy your house. Hi, we are Real Property Solutions, a local real estate investing group. We pay cash for all types of property, so you walk away with more money in your pocket because we eliminate any fees, closing costs, and commissions. Now the best part, we can buy your house as is, meaning you don't have to do a thing to your property. You get to take what you want, leave what you don't, and don't even worry about cleaning. We close on your timeline, whether that's 7 days or 70 days. Interested in selling? Just give us a call and we'll come out to your property and quote you a cash offer within 24 hours. Please call 615-527-8750. That's 615-527-8750.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris, Yow, Mo, Patton here with you on this Wild and Wacky Wednesday, getting ready for a little NASCAR and talking to our favorite NASCAR expert, Heather Williams, joining us on the Real Property Solutions hotline, 615-527-8750. They'll close on your timeline. 7 days or 70, does not matter. Take what you want, leave what you don't. They'll buy your house as is. Heather, it's Daga week, and I, an Alabama native, am very excited because this is my favorite race of the year.
Well,
how are you?
I should start by saying I'm right in your guys' neck of the woods. I'm literally sitting in the media center at the Nashville Super Speedway right now. So,
we're struggling to hear you, although I did hear that are you in Wilson County right now? Is that what you said?
I am. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, much
Yes.
better. Okay. It would help if I had the microphone on my headset up to my mouth. It usually works better. Yes, I'm in. Yeah, I am. I'm in the media center at the Nashville Super Speedway.
Oh, well,
What's going on over there?
Are we talking Sterling Marlin?
No, just a little media event that the Bristol Motor Speedway brought us up here for. They had a couple of drivers up here talking about Nashville and Bristol and just all sorts of race related type things. So we rode in a little caravan up with a crew from the Bristol Motor Speedway, the local media, and we're getting ready to head back as soon as I finish up with you all.
Oh, wow.
Mo, our invitation must have got lost in the mail. I don't know.
Well, I want to ask Heather. She said brought us up here. So do y'all like meet at a central location, meet at Bristol and come down?
Yeah, she drives 3 miles from her house.
I do, exactly. That's what it is. I literally took all my equipment home, drove the 2.5 miles from my house to the track, and then the lovely PR director from Bristol drove us all out here.
That's fantastic. That's a heck of a deal right there.
It really is.
Yeah. No, it's very nice. It's very nice. And they do that a lot with us because we do some events in Charlotte where the drivers are a lot, or we did one in Knoxville before the race. And anything that they're involved in, they'll invite us along, even if it's not like this is really a Nashville event, but they're helping with PR for Nashville. It's a sister track. So they invited us along and we came up here and so it's great.
So do you get to nap some then?
Well, I'm the designated front seat driver, so I don't just usually get to nap because I'm helping stay awake with the driver. But the guys in the back definitely were napping on the way up here.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well,
It's all
hey,
right.
Heath, I know Chris wants to talk a little bit about Talladega or a lot about Talladega, but NASCAR.com, they are rolling out 25 more drivers to come up with their 75 greatest drivers in honor of the 75th anniversary. And one of the more recent announced drivers to be honored is someone that I'm sure you're familiar with, and I think a lot of our listeners are as well. Sterling Marlin.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a logical addition to the list. He, I had a conversation. I did a story with Sterling. Gosh, it's probably been 5 years ago now. After he'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and when he was running at the fairgrounds, still, just about the racing and how what he's up to now, and how the racing at the time was helping with his Parkinson's and thus and such. And I was talking to Dale Jarrett about him, because Dale and he, basically grew up together. Both their dads were racing at the same time on the circuit, so they've known each other a long time. And Dale was in agreement with me when you say, Sterling was really, on his way to a championship in 2004 before he had the accident at Kansas where he broke his neck. He was leading the points at the time. And I think, if he has that championship under his belt with 2 Daytona 500 championships also under his belt, he's at least a guy you're considering for the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, I think it makes sense that he's in the top 75 drivers. You consider everything that Sterling has done and accomplished, and just the longevity of how long and how many years he was able to stay in the Cup Series and be competitive. I mean, he was winning races, like I said, all the way to 2004 when he had that accident. He was a guy that was right up there running at the front of the pack.
748 Cup starts in 33 seasons.
33.
Yeah.
33.
That's
33.
Yeah. But you just put that in perspective. Kevin Harvick is retiring at the end of this year, and I think Kevin is at 22 seasons. So just to give you a little bit of perspective of just how long Sterling was able to stay in the sport.
Pretty wild. His first 2 Cup wins were back-to-back Daytonas in 94 and 95.
Yes, and really could have had a third Daytona 500 if he hadn't decided under green or under red to come out and pull a fender out of his car and got sent to the end of the field when he was out front under the red flag at Daytona. Maybe if he could have stayed in the car and not gotten penalized, and they could have fixed that under yellow, he might have had a chance to maybe win a third.
Also a couple of wins at Darlington and 2 at Talladega.
Yeah, iconic tracks. I mean, all of his wins have been big wins in big races. And like I said, he was at 5 races left in that season when he was leading the points. I think it was actually 02. I think I said 04, but he was leading the points. He's that far away from being in the conversation of possibly being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Oh, as one of our commenters says, cuckoo.
Yeah.
That's Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows him in this area specifically, and his family, and we're so excited and proud for him to be a part of this group. Very well deserved, and excited for him and his family.
Yeah, other drivers that have been named to that group, in addition to the original 50 that were named for the 50th anniversary, were Greg Biffle, Randy LaJoy, Mike Stefanik, Casey Kane, Tony Stewart, and Kyle Larson. Heather, are you surprised to see someone who's currently running named to this list?
No, I expect there probably will be a couple more, because they're going to be naming one driver, a day all the way up until Darlington, 5 during the week. And so I expect to see, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch. Maybe Brad Keselowski. I expect to see maybe Denny Hamlin. I expect to see, guys that are currently racing added to this group for sure. Right. There's some good ones.
There are, in fact, some good ones. I at trivia last night, I was able to. One of the questions was who was the first person to win 7 NASCAR championships, and everyone got that question right. Most of them even got the bonus question of who was the most recent person to do it. So NASCAR, and these are folks from all across the country living in Spring Hill. So who knew that NASCAR was so popular? But I did, in fact, know, and so excited for this week because it is Talladega week. But let's go back and talk a little bit about Kyle Larson's win at Martinsville. Pretty decent race in all things considered, especially relative to short tracks over the last year or so. But Dale Jr. on his podcast said he thinks the number one thing that NASCAR should do is get rid of shifting at short tracks and all ovals, actually, but specifically short tracks. Is that even a possibility?
Oh, sure, it's a possibility. It's all in the way they set up the gear ratios. But and that was a pretty popular, Dale Jr.'s opinion is a pretty popular one among the drivers this weekend at Martinsville. You are far more kind about the Martinsville race than I was. I thought it was awful. I thought it was worse than last year. I thought it was incredibly boring. And when talking to the drivers after the race, most of them were in agreement with me that it was not that great of a race. But the problem with shifting, especially on a short track like Martinsville, is that you can make a mistake and recover much better. I mean, I don't know if either one of you know how to drive a stick shift, can drive a stick shift, but I drive a stick shift in my daily driver. And if you are in fifth gear and going up the hill, how do you get speed? You downshift and then your car takes off. It's the same thing in the corner. If you make a mistake in the corner and someone's about to pass you, you can downshift and your car will take off and you can keep them from passing. Well, that's a great equalizer because before shifting, if you made a mistake, you were sitting duck and someone can pass you. But now you can make a mistake and maintain your position. And so that's why people want to get rid of shifting, specifically on the short track like Martinsville, to help aid in passing and make it a little bit more interesting of a race, because you have to be on point every lap if you're not shifting.
It makes a lot of sense. And I just thought it was an interesting thought from him, considering that, that's one reason he struggled is because of shifting. So,
well, I mean, fair.
If anybody's going to make that argument, Dale Jr. making it may not be the greatest person to make
fair,
it.
But he's in the majority in this one. I talked to Denny Hamlin this afternoon, and he's of the opinion there's actually three things that you can do, which is make adjustments to the downforce of the car, as they've already done. Change the tires. They think that tires are way too durable because tires made no difference this week at Martinsville. A tire with 50 laps was the same as a brand new tires because track position was so valuable and there was no wear on the tires. And then the third thing is the shifting. So Dale's not alone in that observation of what we should be doing to fix tracks like Martinsville.
Well, if that's what it takes to fix it, let's do it.
You and me both. Well, what's so sad is that Martinsville used to be one of the best races of the year, and it's especially the spring race have been, especially the spring race there is just abysmal right now, in my opinion, which makes me sad. Like, I want to be excited for that race, but it ain't there right now.
Well, it's going to be exciting this weekend. There's zero chance that Talladega is not going to be exciting. I got to feel it. I mean, it always is, and it is a crapshoot. You just don't bet if you're a bettor. Don't bet on Talladega because you just never know what's going to happen.
I mean, yes and no. I did talk to Denny this week, and I actually did not talk to him about this, but I have in the past about Talladega, which is, yes, there's a lot of luck involved in it, but there are also guys in the garage area that take super speedway racing a lot more serious than others and don't just rely on luck. And Hamlin is one of those guys. He is very good. Bubba Wallace is another. Today we talked with Chris Buescher. He's another. There are certain guys that are always at the front, and there's a reason for that. And it's not just luck. They put time into learning how to read the lines and you see things developing and, working with their spotter to see wrecks before they happen so that you can not be near them, maybe back up or pass to get around the people that are about to wreck because they're acting the fool or whatever. So, yes, there is luck. I mean, there is luck. You can do all those things and still end up getting wrecked at Talladega. But there's more skill, I think, than people give credit for at those races.
Particularly at Talladega, we've seen kind of the same 8 to 10 drivers really be. It's almost kind of like road courses where you kind of see the same folks up front every single time. And that's a testament to, how well they prepare for these particular races. So I'm looking forward to it, because this is always one of the spring race is the only one I've ever been to. I've never been to the fall race at Talladega. So this is always kind of my favorite race of the year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Now, what do you expect to happen? What should I be looking for?
Well, look to see, how desperate people are starting to get as far as points and stage points, right? Are we going to be racing in stage one, or are we just going to be playing follow the leader? There are some guys that are starting to get a little desperate for points, so it might cause the end of stages to get a little racier than they might normally be, because this is shaping up. Even though William Byron and Kyle Larson both have 2 wins, the rest of it's been pretty mixed, and it's shaping up to another year where we might have maybe not 19 winners like we had last year, but maybe 15 winners or 14 winners. So, points are so precious when you're trying to get in on points, because there aren't going to be that many spots available on points. There was only one last year. It was just Ryan Blaney who was the only guy. So I think that this could maybe be a little more contentious than maybe Talladega even a year ago, because guys saw what happened last year where Blaney was the only guy that was able to point his way in. And so those stage points and points just in general become more and more valuable.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, as always. Looking forward to, again, Talladega here on Mo just dipped out on us. Looking forward to Talladega on Sunday, but
he's on his way to Talladega. He's like, I'm in, I'm out.
He must be. But no. Well, we are super pumped about the fairgrounds. It looks like that's going to be a positive for the city of Nashville as well. So hopefully you got some good stuff, and we'll be looking for what you have coming out of this particular trip to the mid-state.
Yeah, it was great. We talked to the drivers about the fairgrounds, and I think universally everybody in the garage is really in favor of that. It's just the biggest thing now is going to be, how do we divide this up? Do we go once to the super speedway, once to the fairgrounds? Do we go every other year? Like how do we divide up Nashville? What can it sustain? That's the biggest question now, I think. I think everybody's excited about both tracks, because, when they brought back the super speedway, I don't think people were all that excited, because towards the end, the then Busch Series races, now Xfinity Series, they weren't that great. But since they've brought it back to racing here, it's been amazing. So I don't think you necessarily want to just throw this track out. I mean, it's an entertaining track.
Well,
so,
I mean, right now, this type of track is way more entertaining than a short track. So
right.
Until they fix the short track package, I think you just leave the fairgrounds as it is. Of course, it's going to be a couple of years for them to get it built back correctly.
Yeah. Also true.
So they're going to have some time.
That's the biggest thing. I think everybody's in favor of coming here twice a year if they can, because this is a huge racing market. And I think people want to be here. I think drivers want to be here. I think NASCAR wants to be here. And I think the fans want them here.
It's certainly become that over the last few years, and is surprised, and I'm as surprised as anyone other than maybe Joe Williams, Mo. Joe is probably the most surprised of all of us, but we're so happy to have NASCAR back here and have Speedway Inc. It's just such a pleasure to have those guys working here in Nashville. Couldn't do this without them, so please pass along our thanks and appreciation to the track and their folks.
I will, and I will make sure you guys are on the invite list the next time they have something here. I know a few people.
We appreciate that.
And
Heather,
we know you.
And we know you. That's right. It's all about who you know, and I know Heather.
Some people, that's not a good thing.
Well, it's great for us, and we always appreciate you. At WCYB_Heather, make sure to follow her. I'm sure she'll have some great stuff coming out of this trip here, and much, much more. And of course, her podcast as well. It's a lot of fun to listen to as well. So, Heather, thanks again. We appreciate it, and we'll let you get out of here.
All right, thanks, guys.
Heather Williams on the Real Property Solutions Hotline. 615-527-8750 is the number to call. They can close on your timeline 7 days or 70, doesn't matter. And of course, they'll buy your house as is. So take what you want, leave what you don't even have to clean. That's the best part. You don't even have to clean. You just
kind of a
leave.
dine and dash kind of thing.
That's
huh?
that is a fantastic deal. I don't know, but
Yeah.
make sure you call that number 615-527-8750. We're going to take a break. When we come back, baseball chatter, get the Braves, talk a little Tennessee baseball. Oof. Yeah, and much, much more on the other side of the break. Stick around on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.
There is nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park, each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
April 19th, 1950, Sid Gordon's grand slam, the first of the season in the National League, was part of a 9-run sixth inning as the Boston Braves downed the New York Giants 10-6 at the Polo Grounds. That was this day in Braves history.
Always fun at the Polo Grounds.
The Polo Grounds.
In 1908, a young man was on a train and passed the Polo Grounds, and it inspired him to write the song "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." True story.
Did it happen on April 19th?
I don't think so. But it was in 1908.
Okay.
That would be interesting, though.
That would be interesting.
I thought you were about to say, well, if it isn't, don't talk about it.
That's not this day. It's some other day. The only reason I know that is I was looking up questions for final trivia last night, and that was one of the questions that I came across.
Oh.
As a,
So you have to come up with your own questions?
I do. It's not that difficult. I mean, I obviously
compared to what?
I mean, I obviously go to websites, and just, and find questions, but There's actually a website out there that has archived every episode of Jeopardy ever. And so you can go and get questions and answers from there.
That's a cheat code right there.
It is. And that helps quite a bit. So there's that. But I also do multiple choice for them. So I have to come up with 2 wrong answers that could be right answers.
Oh.
One of the questions last night was a new study says global warming is causing this in Major League Baseball, and the options were more home runs, more ground balls, or angrier umpires. And after watching last night's San Diego Padres Atlanta Braves game, I think the answer C might have been the correct answer.
Angrier umpires.
That guy was awful.
Oh.
He was actually really good overall. 98% strikes called correctly, 97% balls called correctly, but he had three pitches at the knees from Spencer Strider that he called balls that were easily strikes.
Mm-hmm.
And Strider was able to figure it out. And I think the ump scorecard had it plus 1.39 runs in favor
1.29,
of
I think it was.
Well, okay, 1.3-ish
Mm-hmm.
in favor of the Padres, and they still only scored 1 run. So heck of a night from Spencer Strider.
No doubt.
Despite not having his absolute best stuff.
I tell you what, though, when they said he was at 70 pitches through 3 1/3, I was a little concerned.
Correct.
But because that's one of the things that we've talked about with him is how efficient he has been, even as he's racking up the punch out. So I think he finished with 9 last night eventually. I'm not sure how many pitches he finished with, but that 70 number in the 4th inning really kind of got my attention.
He's kind of been, that's actually where he's been the last couple of starts. He's not been terribly efficient to start this season outside of his first start of the year. And a lot of that is because, he's trying to take some off his fastball.
Yeah. You know what, though? He wound up going 6 on 98 pitches. So he threw 28 pitches over the last 2 2/3. Hey.
You all right, man?
I will be, maybe.
No dying on the air.
Yeah, ideally.
That's a no-no. That's against the rules.
I think that's one thing that about Strider and about Michael Soroka, by the way, who had a terrible first inning for Gwinnett last night, yet
wound up going 6
with a shutout.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I saw some of the Twitter reactions to that first inning, and it's like, is this guy ever going to make it back to the major leagues? It's like, just chill. I tweeted this earlier today. The worst thing about being a Braves fan is Braves fans.
Yep, I'll agree with that, because it is not unusual for us to overreact to every little thing.
Everything. Everything. Yeah. So,
Eddie Rosario getting a start today, but doing it in the designated hitter spot.
Hilliard and Pilar in center and left today, I believe.
Pilar's had a pretty solid series.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think I'm about done with the Eli White experiment, though.
Well, I mean, I don't know what happened to him last night, but he's certainly not having he walked, was 0 for 1 with a walk last night. Hasn't been on base a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Hilliard is just really good. I don't know why you wouldn't just play Sam Hilliard all the time at this point.
Well, because are you going to sit Rosario?
Or you DH him? Well, or you platoon him in Pilar? Hilliard plays center. So you put Hilliard in center, and then platoon Rosario and Pilar, and you're good to go. You know, you could always not play Marcell Ozuna.
He's not playing today.
Nope, he's not playing today after going 0 for 3 with a walk, hitting 085 on the year. 085. Jeez. If your DH is batting 8th, why are you DHing?
It's a valid question. It really is.
I mean, just put the pitcher out there and let's ride.
I'd rather see Max Fried swing it than Ozuna. And I think you'd probably get better results
over the course of a season. Yeah, you absolutely would. It's ridiculous. So
he's got 2 RBIs. They're both on solo home runs.
They're both on solo homers. Yep. He does, and they were both in games that were already well decided.
Sammy Sosa home runs, huh?
Yeah, very much so. Sammy Sosa home runs. So good win for the Braves last night. 3 in the 8th, 3 in the 9th to break it open.
And I'm telling you, folks need to cut out the Matt Olson slander unless they are trying to create the result of last night.
Yeah, you know, one hit. His one hit was
crushed.
No question there. Jesse Chavez, man. Can't say enough about that guy. Just another fantastic outing. How about Anderson and Yates having a solid night as well against?
How about Yates against his former team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, this San Diego lineup is not bad.
Yeah. Friend of mine was pointing out earlier today that the Braves haven't beaten a team with a winning record, and you know, I think San Diego is going to be better than they are right now. But more than that, I mean, all you can do is play whoever lines up across from you.
Well, I don't know if they meant currently has a winning record, a team that currently has a winning record.
Yeah.
But they were 3-1 when we beat them the first time.
I think they were referring to currently. Right now.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody has a winning record. And that being said, the Marlins do. So who knows?
Yeah.
How good are the Braves? They're good enough to be. And look, the Padres, if they had won either of these 2 games, they would at least be 500, I think.
Right.
You know, so this is a good team. It's impressive to go out there and beat them 2 out of 3. It'd be nice to take the win this afternoon and get out of there with a sweep.
Well, this is a good team with what, 5 folks on the sideline right now?
Yes.
That would be playing if they were healthy.
So. And how lucky are you to be getting this part, you know, this kind of schedule while you have those guys out?
Right.
So.
Right.
Speaking of beating the teams in front of you, Tennessee did not, nor did Vanderbilt, by the way. Indiana State had a heck of a trip to Nashville.
Swept Belmont and then got Vanderbilt while they were here.
Yeah, while we're here, let's go beat the number 4 team in the country. What do you say?
Lovely parting gifts. Yeah.
I mean, my goodness. So, but Tennessee Tech goes to Tennessee, and I think Tennessee Tech beat Tennessee last year.
They did.
Okay. I thought they did.
That was in a wood bat game over at
true.
Smokies Park, I think, if you remember.
That's right. It sure was. Wouldn't have mattered what they were trying to hit with yesterday. I don't think it was going to matter.
Apparently.
Tennessee Tech was smoking the baseball. and right now, Tennessee just has no answer. They've got nothing in the pitching world anyway. And I don't know why, because this is a team that this is a pitching staff that going into the season, most people thought was the best in the country, deepest at least.
Yep. They've got no answers right now. They dropped 2 of 3 at LSU. They dropped 2 of 3 at home to Florida, and they got swept at Arkansas in their last 3 SEC series.
And oh, by the way, now Vanderbilt awaits.
At least Vanderbilt is coming there, but I don't know. I don't know if it matters the way UT is playing right now. And Vanderbilt top 5 right now. And again, coming off of their loss to Indiana State and the post-game paint peeling session that I'm sure Tim Corbin had. They will be on razor's edge when they come into Knoxville this weekend, I think.
That's kind of the worst thing that could have happened if you're Tennessee.
Yeah, I think so.
And it did. So watch out. Vanderbilt may come in and just, and then of course this is the type of series that Tennessee comes out and wins 2 out of 3 or something. You know, it's
anything can happen. I mean, with either of these teams. I mean, I think you have a better feel for what you're going to get out of Vanderbilt in this situation than you do what you're going to get out of Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee plays with such emotion that they typically kind of put themselves on a roller coaster. I mean, which Tennessee team do you get? Do you get the daddy and the fur coats and that kind of thing, or do they just
the NCAA
fall into a here we go again kind of situation?
They took away the home run celebrations, and Tennessee fell off a cliff.
Yeah. Again, 2-7 in their last 3 SEC series. That's it's not a recipe for success.
No, it's not. I mean, if they even make it to Hoover at this point, you got to feel like that'd be a success. Who knows? But anyway, we're going to talk to a former standout on the collegiate baseball field, but we're not going to talk to him about baseball.
We might.
Well, I guess you certainly could.
Yeah.
We'll talk with Willie DAUNIC and get a little bit of a post-mortem on the PREDS and who knows what else. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joints. Back to the Lee Company studio after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Attention Tennessee homeowners, we want to buy your house. Hi, we are Real Property Solutions, a local real estate investing group. We pay cash for all types of property, so you walk away with more money in your pocket because we eliminate any fees, closing costs, and commissions. Now the best part, we can buy your house as is, meaning you don't have to do a thing to your property. You get to take what you want, leave what you don't, and don't even worry about cleaning. We close on your timeline, whether that's 7 days or 70 days. Interested in selling? Just give us a call and we'll come out to your property and quote you a cash offer within 24 hours. Please call 615-527-8750. That's 615-527-8750.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton with you on this Wild and Wacky Wednesday. The weirdest and wildest news from across the world coming your way in just moments. But first, Mo, we go to the Real Property Solutions hotline, where standing by is the Bally Sports voice of the Predators, Willie DAUNIC. Willie, welcome in. How are you, buddy?
Hey guys, good to talk to you again.
Hey,
you see his hat, Mo?
Hang on just a second. I can't see its hat. How ironic. Willie, tell us about that one-hit gem that Mahoney twirled yesterday against number 2 ranked Grace Christian.
Yeah, it was a good win for his team. USA Grace Christian is an excellent program, as you guys know. You follow this well down in the Leapers Fork. In Division 2 1A, you play a 2-game series, which I think is a really smart way to go about it. So you get to see different pitching staffs. You can't just have your ace and randomness to it. So you play a home and home. So we played in Leapers Fork on Monday, and then last night at USN they split. And my son Mahoney pitched a really good game last night, and so he was pretty pumped up. His team was as well to beat a great team like Grace Christian. So he went 7 innings, and the second batter of the game, Trace Phillips, who was an excellent shortstop who's headed to Middle Tennessee, who was pitching yesterday. He had a solo home run, but that was the only hit that Grace Christian got. The Tigers got a big win yesterday, so I'm fired up, and I've got the hat on today. Not only to represent, but we're heading for a matchup with the Bobcats today. So I'm excited to go over to the field that Mookie Betts built.
The field that Mookie Betts built, that should be a lot of fun. Getting back a little bit closer to your wheelhouse, I guess you're really used to being a little bit busier right now than you are this time around in terms of the Preds being in postseason play and not this time. What's the level of disappointment in light of how this team came down the stretch as far as that goes?
Yeah, it's funny. We got home from the game last night, the baseball game, and we flipped on. We were watching baseball. We're flipping over to watch some hockey, and Mahoney says, "Dad, if you guys made the playoffs, you would have missed that game." So from a personal standpoint, I don't miss as many of his contests as I do during the season. He plays basketball as well. Mo, I've seen you on the circuit covering some of his games there. So it's a double-edged sword for me. It's there's nothing like a great playoff ride for a hockey team. It's extremely exciting, the journey and the ups and downs of a playoff run. But from the personal side, that it does have a little more family time involved. But I'm getting used to it because it's been 8 years. They made it for 8 straight years to the postseason. So this is a little bit different. But I do think the way the team finished, there's a lot of hope and a lot of positive outlook despite that.
The positive, yeah. the positives are there, especially when you consider that this team was probably going to end up same place it was last year after the first round. But boy, you got to be proud of how this team finished the season. Obviously, not how you wanted to with the loss in Winnipeg, but just about everything else was really a step in the right direction going into the off season.
Yeah, there was some good. There's some good feelings in that they were able to acquire a lot of assets, a bunch of draft picks, some prospects. They cleared off a bunch of salary cap space, which is going to be enormous going forward, especially this offseason where the salary cap isn't going to go up. So they accomplished all of that and still remain competitive. You know, there is part of you that's sitting there going, man, if they could have just gotten in. You saw that Seattle and Winnipeg, two wild card teams, both won on the road last night. And so it just shows you in the NHL playoffs, anything can happen if you just get in, even though underdogs, I mean, they're clearly underdogs teams, but hot at the right time, you make big plays, you get good goaltending, you can play with the top layer team. So there will always be that what if for not getting in there. But all that being said, when I walked out of the building on Friday after the last game, you knew it was the last day of school. You knew you weren't going to make it no matter what. I was really encouraged by how many of the fans just felt, and they lost the game against the Avalanche. It was a really good game. They came from behind. It meant something to the Avalanche because they were trying to win the division, and they barely did. But there was just a lot of, hey, I like this group. I like these, and I'm excited about the future. And so for a team that missed the playoffs for the first time in so long, it's about as good a feeling as you can have under those circumstances, if that makes sense.
Speaking of that, what did you take away from the post-season press conference that the organization held with John Hines, David Poile, and Barry Trotz? Did you feel like that was kind of their thought was, you know, we're getting ready to take that next step as an organization?
Well, I think what Barry Trotz said that jumped out to me was, look, it's going to be a process. He too was very excited, very impressed with the way particularly the young players carried themselves in the last month and a half, 6 weeks or so of the season. In the week leading up to the trade deadline in early March all the way to the end. They went 16-10-2. In the last 28, despite all kinds of injuries on top of all the trades. So that was impressive. But he did say this. He said, we have to be realistic. We can't just think everything's great now. He said, we have elite goaltending. It starts with UC Saros. And when you have elite goaltending, it covers a lot of your shortcomings as a team. So it's just like, a great quarterback in football. He can mask some of your weaknesses. And so it can only take you so far. So the goal for Barry Trotz is to build a stronger roster top to bottom. And, he said, be patient with me. This may not happen overnight, but I think over the next year or two, they're excited about some of the prospects that already, showed Nashville what they can do, but also some guys that haven't gotten here yet. There's a kid named Yow, who's playing really well for Milwaukee right now. He's only 18, 19 years old, who was their first-round pick last summer. He looks really, really good. I'm not sure if he'll be ready to play for the Predators next year at a really young age, but he's a guy that eventually looks like he's got what it takes to be an impact player. So it's going to take some time, but what you got to hope for is that layer by layer, you start building back the roster to where you don't feel like you're a big underdog when you get to the playoffs.
Speaking on the Real Property Solutions hotline with the Bally voice of the Nashville Predators, Willie DAUNIC, here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Willie, we kind of feel like a NASCAR team right now. We got to get all the sponsors in. But with the way the Predators played down the stretch, does it kind of give you the feeling that this is less of a rebuild, less of a tear down, and more of just a kind of retool on the fly kind of situation?
I think it is definitely compared to some of the other teams that just missed the playoffs. If you look around the league, let's take the Pittsburgh Penguins. They've made the playoffs every year since 2007. They just missed. But they have mortgaged their future. They don't have a very good group of prospects coming up through the ranks. They took on, for example, the contract of Mikael Granlund, who I love as a player and as a person. He's a guy that's going to give you everything he's got. But he's getting a little long in the tooth. He's banged up. He's got 2 more years at $5 million a year against the cap. So that doesn't give you a lot of flexibility. Nashville moved that contract off the books. Pittsburgh's got to contend with it now. Nashville has more flexibility than Pittsburgh, who, by the way, fired their general manager the day after the season was over. Same thing happened with the Calgary Flames, the team that Nashville eliminated right before they came home for their last 2 games. It kept them alive for 2 more days in the playoffs. Just a dramatic win up there that put an end basically to the Calgary season. Another team that they're changing GMs. They may change their coach before it's over. And they are up against the salary cap, traded off some future assets. So they don't really have as much capital and, pile up of assets to address needs as Nashville has done. So I think really that's probably where David Poile should be most commended with these last few years. I know it's been frustrating for a lot of the fans that Nashville hasn't won playoff series in the last few seasons, but Nashville did not mortgage the future during those times. They held on to their first round picks. They're stockpiling prospects up through the ranks. And so I think you're just starting to see some guys like we saw at the end of the year, like Luke Evangelista and Phil Tomasino and Cody Glass and Tommy Novak. They're just arriving, but there are more coming, I think, in the future years if they're smart with their draft picks. So I think they're in better position, Mo, than some teams. And when you say rebuild, I don't think it's a 4 or 5 year kind of rebuild. I think it's, retool as you go, stay competitive. And I think next year they'll have a chance. They'll have an outside shot of getting back to the playoffs. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all.
Well, you saw a little bit of that in these last few weeks. You saw how well those guys can play and can give you an opportunity. And when you couple that with, some of those guys with the veterans like Johansson and Forsberg and Duchesne, you feel like this. And then, of course, you've got a top 3 goalie in the league. You're never really out of it when you've got guys like UC Saros and Forsberg, and then you add in those few young guys as well. You don't feel like you're ever out of it.
Yeah, that's what we didn't really get a chance to see because of all of the injuries to some of those guys. Like they missed Roman Josi for the last 3.5 weeks. I would argue that if they just had Josi, forget about the other 6 or 7 guys that were hurt, including Forsberg, Johansson, Duchesne, so that's the 4 highest paid players on the team. But if they had just had Josi, they might have been able to stay in it all the way through to the last couple of games. It might have gone down to that last game. Josi makes that much of a difference just by himself. So that's what I think gives you hope. And like you pointed out, if you have elite goaltending, and the Predators do, you have a chance. It's like a team that has, a great starting pitching staff. You don't have to score a ton of runs to have a pretty good baseball team. Doesn't mean you're not trying to make your lineup better, but if you have good pitching, you're going to be in the game. And so I think that's what Nashville has going for them. So how do you use what you've got? Play for the big picture. You're not going to go all in for next year, but that when you got UC Saros and Roman Josi, you got a chance. And then what they've got to figure out is, what will the team look like, particularly at forward, with a lot of these young guys that stepped in and did well. And then you add back, in theory, we know Philip Forsberg, and then guys like Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchesne. What does that look like? That's what we never really got a chance to see.
It's almost scary if you can get, especially if you can get, last season's production out of Duchesne occasionally, or even, 75% of it. It is a scary scenario where the Predators bring up some of these guys and they play at their top level while these veterans also play at their top level. This is a team that could be, a top 3 seed in the next couple of years based on that lineup. So, boy, the future does look bright, and it's not that far away, which is why I'm really curious to see what Barry Trotz has in store, and obviously what the evaluation of John Hines looks like. I think that's a major part to this, right?
Yeah, and if you didn't see what Barry Trotz said, John Hines was at the press conference, and so that on one hand would have you believing that there's a pretty good chance he's coming back. If they knew he was gone, he would never have come to the podium. And he answered all the questions, and the two of them, Barry Trotz and John Hines, seemed like they were in pretty good lockstep with one another, very complimentary of the other. But, of course, Barry Trotz has to make that decision, and he was asked directly, is John Hines back next year? And he did stop short of saying yes. He said he's under contract. He said, trust the process. We are doing some evaluation. So I think even today, they're probably tomorrow, there's probably some discussions between Barry Trotz and the coaching staff. And we'll see how those go. But I think there's a pretty good chance that John Hines will he's got 1 year left on his contract. And so I don't think it's a long leash, but I think he did everything he possibly could under the circumstances with this group after the trade deadline. But we'll see what that means when it's time to make that decision. So I think that's what a lot of people are curious next is John Hines 100% back? And if so, does he get an extension, or is it just he goes into the last year of his contract? We'll see how it goes. I tend to think that he's earned the chance to at least start next year because he did a really good job with this group under the circumstances. And another thing that's worth pointing out, last year, the Predators were able to pick up Ryan McDonough in a steal of a trade, he's become one of the great leaders on this Predator team. When Roman Josi went out, he basically became the guy. And so he'll be alongside Roman Josi. The two of them together, when they had them both out there, boy, they were a much, much different team, much better team when they had them both. When they were missing one or the other or both, very, very significant difference. But McDonough, just because Tampa was so much up against the salary cap, they had to almost give him away. They got him for basically nothing, just taking on his salary. So there may be another player or two like that could help speed up the reloading process, if you will.
Should be a lot of fun to watch, and of course we'll be keeping a close eye on the offseason moves made by the Predators, and we'll be keeping an eye on your young stud pitcher.
All right, yeah, wish him luck. We'll see if we're going to the postseason here in a couple of weeks, so we'll see what happens. The 2 out of 3, it's another great thing that I think the TSSAA has done in conjunction with the coaches. The first round is the best 2 out of 3 to stay alive. There was some great drama last year. USN beat BGA 2 out of 3, and it was nip and tuck, 3 great games. So we'll see what happens. And also on the big league level, let's go Mets. Will the Braves ever lose again? Can you guys?
They may not lose.
We may just have to kick you off after that, Willie. But let me ask you this: is Mahoney a PO guy, or does he play offensively as well?
He plays in the field. He plays first base, outfield. He's kind of a utility man when he's not pitching. He plays for the travel team locally here, the Knights. This summer he'll be a pitcher only. He's been a two-way guy up until this year, but I think long term his best tool, if you will, is probably on the mound.
There we go. All right, sounds good. Well, we'll be looking out for him, and as I said, we can't go with you on that "Let's Go Mets" thing, but we'll figure something out. Willie DAUNIC, the Bally voice of the Nashville Predators, joining us here on the Real Property Solutions Hotline on Main Street Sports today. Willie, we appreciate it.
We kicked him off, apparently.
Is he gone? Well,
yes,
yeah. Well, it was that Met stuff, man.
He dipped out.
Can't tolerate it.
Dipped. All right, it is time for the wildest. What
do you want to hit this note over here before we get into Wild and Wacky?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. The Titans have agreed to terms with veteran receiver Chris Moore, former Texan and Raven, according to Jim Wyatt.
4th round pick of the Ravens in 2016. Spent the last 2 years with Houston. 48 catches for 548 yards and 2 touchdowns. Played in 16 games with 7 starts last fall. That's his best season. I'm not impressed.
No, I mean, if he's going to compete for, wide receiver 2 or something, sure, I guess. But I don't know. The Titans needed wide receiver 1, and he's not it.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I say that.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I mean, I don't know. Traylon Burks can be that guy potentially.
Well, yeah. But Chris Moore is not WR1. I mean,
no,
period.
Not at all. So anyway, it's so unfortunate.
Wild and wacky.
It is time for the weirdest and wildest news from across the world
and Florida.
Start in Charlotte, North Carolina. One of my favorite places in all of the world, but give me just a second here as we get into. Oh, goodness. I have the story up and I want to read the story, but I have a video that goes with it and I really wanted to watch it, but apparently it has gotten. Here we go. All right. A 13-year-old boy decided he's going to make sure that no matter what, he was able to win a prize at the part when he climbed inside of the claw game. That's right. And he was then do what?
I just said, why use the claw?
Yeah, he why use the claw? But we do have a video of this event. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, you got me. It was good.
Okay, maybe Justin didn't climb into the claw game to get it, but
that's great. This is so funny.
Oh, that was a fun time. We took a trip to pizza place in Mount Pleasant, and Justin played the claw game and did not win, but it's okay. No, seriously though, the medical response team had to unlock the machine. They got him out, and he was treated and released to his guardian, but he has been banned from the park for 1 year for attempted theft.
Can you imagine the embarrassment if your child climbed into the claw game?
Oh my God.
Well, it could be worse. Now, again, that's a 13-year-old. That's a 13-year-old.
That's a big kid.
But I know, right? How did they get into the claw game? That's my number one question.
Mm-hmm.
But climbing into the claw game is one thing. Being a curious toddler and climbing your way into the White House lawn is another. Oh, one of the tiniest White House intruders in history squeezed through the metal fencing on the north side of the executive mansion. According to U.S. Secret Service, said that he was responsible for security at the White House. He walked across the north lawn to retrieve the child and reunite him with his parents on Pennsylvania Avenue. Access to the complex was briefly restricted while they, conducted the reunification, but they briefly questioned the parents before allowing them to continue on their way. But boy, that's one of my favorites right there. I mean, the kid. Can you imagine like White House security systems just going crazy, and you're like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And it's this little, 2-year-old.
Yeah,
the way they're holding him right there, it's so funny.
And your parents are freaking out because they can't squeeze through.
They can't go get him. So what are you gonna do?
Wow,
that's one of my favorites right there. I have to give that's a good story.
That's wild.
And only in Florida can this ever happen. Folks, just bear with me here because you got to see it. Only in Florida can you be riding a jet ski motorcycle in Cape Coral. That's right. It's got wheels. It's a spectacle among those. Like the Florida panther and invasive Burmese pythons you only find in the southernmost state, Florida man. Over the weekend, a man was spotted doing what he does best, capturing people's attention, because that's what you do when you have a motorcycle / jet ski. That's going to do it for the show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on Main Street, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. See you then.